chat and I will start the demonstration using that keyword so I can help you with your use case. If you don't have one, then I'll just pick one of my own. But Tim, I think I haven't seen you here before. So if you have a keyword or a niche that you try to, so there's quite a few documents that I've created, but let's go ahead and search for something. New document. Let's search for something. Okay. So to give you a quick background of how outranking works, you start with a keyword always. So when you start creating any kind of content and you want to rank for it in Google, you start with the keyword research. So once you have that keyword, you can go ahead and create a document. But in order to find that keyword, you can use other tools. And there are many really good tools out there, SEMrush, Ahrefs, Ubersuggest, right? And you can come in and plug in that keyword as a search query over here. Or we also have a few tools over here that allows you to research the keyword. So I'll go ahead and pick one, SEO content writing. And let's go ahead and create a new document. When you click a new document, what essentially is happening is that we're going and making a SERP call. So we're going and searching in Google for that particular key for the location that you're trying to rank for. And we are extracting information from the top 20 pages of Google to identify triads that make a particular page rank on Google, and use that as a benchmark to help the AI in guiding us in creating outlines, content, and optimization of content as well. So let's go ahead and click on title ideas. How to use SEO to enhance your content writing. 3 ways to improve SEO in content writing. How to optimize your content writing for traffic. This probably better. Optimize content writing for SEO. How to write content for search engine optimization. That doesn't really resonate well. This resonates well with me. So I can also double click on it and edit it to fit my requirement. So I'll just keep this as default and select next. And then we generate some meta description. So you can pick the one that has been generated by us, or similarly, you can double click on it and edit it. Once you click on it, you can click next. Okay, so once you have your title, your description, now it's time to create an outline, right? So you can simply browse through SERP outlines and curate ideas from here, or you can use section concepts to generate AI ideas using SERP information. So what it's doing is that it's reading through SERP information and extracting key elements or outline ideas from that. You can use stuff from here. It's already rewritten to a certain extent. And if you need more ideas or well-structured ideas, you can go to SERP outlines and find the ones that you want, add it to your outline builder, and then edit them. So for this example, let's go ahead and get started with just a couple of ideas over here so I can show you guys. Okay. Types of SEO content. Definition of SEO content. Okay. Let's say I want to talk about that, how to develop an SEO content strategy or the goals of content marketing strategy. Okay. Now I want to also score it and understand if I'm using the right keywords in my headline. So in order to do that, what Outranking is recommending is you use all the important related keywords in your most emphasized tags on a blog post. So what is the most emphasized tag? An H1, H2, H3, bold, H4, right? Those are more emphasized tags rather than your text. So in order for us to find out how, if we are including the right keywords or not, you can click on it and it will show you what sort of title you can use to target that particular keyword. So let's go ahead and add that. And you can see that turned green. Okay. All right. Now let's go and find some more ideas, right? So let's go to SERP outline. Then you see we've already added that. So it's already green. Importance. Now you could be using a little different variation of it, right? Like why is SEO content importance or things like that. And it should be fine. But this is what people are searching for exactly in Google. And every search in any, whether it is like a website search, Google search, any search, right? Like any search algorithm that's out there, from what I've known, they all start with exact search first, right? So then there are other matrices that follow with it to create a scoring pattern and then ranking that particular document. So title is still very important. This emphasized headings are super important for creating more organic traffic for keywords, which are other than your focus keyword like long tail and the keywords that also justify the user intent. So, okay. So this is something similar to that, right? So what I would do is importance of, okay, and we're targeting that as well. So similarly, you need to make sure that whatever that makes sense over here, you're including that in your outline. Those words need to be there in your H2s or H3 tags. Okay. You can also, so I just showed you how to drag and drop this. What is the definition? You can also drag this inside and create an H3 out of it. If you want to break it out, you can click here and it'll break out again. Okay. There's also highest frequency keywords to understand what most of your competition is using as the common terms in their headings, and subheadings. These are the words that they're using in their headings and subheadings. So make sure you include all of those words, and there will be more once you go into the editor. This is Google Pack questions. So you can curate some questions around this particular topic, either create an FAQ section for your blog post, just use them wherever you see it fit, right? So let's see if there is any questions related, full form. There's nothing that fits here, but most of these questions are super important and they're tightly related with the user intent. How do you become a Google content writer? Is SEO writing profitable? What does an SEO copywriter do? So this could be really good questions to include in your FAQ and create that long list of information that users might find helpful, which is short, concise, and answers those PAC questions, specifically. So I could also do this, and then let's add that. So, and you can start clubbing them and creating that hierarchy. Okay, so this was a process of creating an outline. And once you have that outline, you can go ahead and click on Create Sections Outline. Okay, once you are here in the editor, there's just so many things happening over here, right? So we'll go one by one through each of these sections and take a brief understanding of what they all do. Okay, SEO score, this is suggesting the average and the maximum count of the content or the words that your competing data has, right? You need to be targeting a little more than an average in most of these cases to have that right depth that most of these pages have on Google, so you have a higher chance of ranking. Okay, then you can look at the readability. You can look at the sentences, how many sentences the averages have and the maximum have. Similarly, you can see sections. Sections is your H2 and H3 tags. This is something that we really emphasize on because each section is an opportunity for you to include a related keyword. So we don't want it to go waste. If there is 12 sections, you can understand like what sort of depth that content might have, right? Like what sort of structure it might need. There are certain pages which literally have hundreds of sections, right? So those are difficult to structure out and create content around. Those are more likely a power page, right? With lots and lots of information on it. These are exact searches. So the searches that are related to this particular term, the maximum pages have 6 of those and minimum have 2 of them. And we will see those keywords and related keywords over here. These are how many outbound links each your competing web page has. These are the images that they have on their content. This is a quick setting to allow you to score your content with more scrutiny or just less scrutiny. So if I am creating content that has a higher keyword difficulty, that is short tail, like a couple of words, 1 word, 3 word, right? Like now I even consider 3 word as a short tail. But you have those, understand that in order for you to rank for those particular key, you would have to include a lot more information. So for example, if I was talking about content strategy, I would need to include content strategy examples, how to create content strategy, right? Like those are 2 major topics, and those 2 topics could be a standalone page to itself, right? So I'm going to have to include a lot more information in that one page in order for me to rank for that particular keyword. So in that case, you can click on pillar pages, and then your editor will adjust the scoring mechanism for tighter rules. Okay, let's just click on regular for right now and then navigate through this. So we'll leave methods for last and instructions for last. Instruction comes in handy when you're optimizing existing information. So we'll leave this two for last. Well, we'll need to use method when we come and create content, but let's go through all the tabs. Title, this shows you the first 20 pages of Google and the most or the highest or the frequently appearing words in those titles. Similarly, you can go to meta description. It shows the first 20 and the highest frequency keywords over there as well. This is for H1 tag. This is sections. And we were here when we exited out of the AI wizard, we were landed upon here. This is because this is where you are going to start creating content. And that's why we're landing you right over here. Let's move. Well, let's not move on. We've already seen this. So let's go to sections from SERP. Now, sections from SERP, this is essentially the same information that you saw here, but in right besides your outline. So if you think you missed out something or you needed to add a little more meat or a little more depth to your content and you just don't want to go to AI Wizard, you can quickly glance through all of this information. And if you need to add anything, you can add that into your outline. So you can also see what content lies underneath this. So it's order for you to figure out if you want this or you don't, right? So I can go ahead and add that. Okay. And you can similarly navigate through all 20 pages over here. Highest frequency words. So this is like filtering your outline based on certain keywords. So if you say, I want to just see what people have mentioned about e-commerce, it will show you all the headings that people have used related to e-commerce in their content, right? So it allows you to sort of figure out certain information, and most important than none, rearrange allows you to rearrange your sections, which are in the editor where you so we can come back to it to review this. Let's go back to outlines and then go to questions. Okay, so questions, these are all the questions that we have extracted after reading the first 20 pages of Google. These are all the questions that people are asking in Google. So these are PA questions. People also ask questions. These are all the questions which have a volume associated with it. So people are searching for this exact question in Google, and there's some volume associated with it. So Google is identifying that has a volume associated with it. And these are some questions from social. I would just not even worry about those, but content, not even content, but Google and keywords. This is the two most important pieces of information that you should include in your content and write answers around these questions. I could not stress enough, right? Like there are many content pieces out there. If you see there's 20 questions here, I would say about 50% might be good. The remaining 50% are going to be crap. That's your opportunity, right? Create better content for some of those questions, and you can take those positions in PA or featured book. Okay, and let's go look at the topic coverage. This is your traditional topic coverage that you might see in different tools as well. This is Google NLP extracted terms, entities, and you can see their occurrences or usages in the SERP document. So you can kind of group them based on importance if you want to. You can also see all the words if you wanted to. There's just tons and tons of information here. For 3-word, 2-word, right? You can dig deeper into it. These are some clusters that we've identified, and this is the current density. Now, we've not written much content over here, so the densities are off the chart. But once you write more content, this will sort of allow you to understand if you could potentially have keyword stuffing. So above 7, you might want to check those words and make sure that you're not overusing them for no reason. If they're still naturally appearing and the content is just long enough, and if it makes sense to you, that's okay. But just be a little careful then. Okay, so we looked at topic coverage, and we'll look at related keywords now. They both have this icon over here, AI. If you click on it, it will show you where this particular keyword was mentioned in your competition or is mentioned in your content. So you're using it partially in your H1 tag, and this is how your competition is using it in their H2 tags. Similarly, you can also look at all the text, right? So paragraph content. So this allows you to really dig deeper into your competing web pages and identify information that you might want to potentially include to serve that user intent. So let's go ahead and close that out and move right to related keywords. These are the related keywords that we've identified that your competition is using and are also important for you to include in your content. Not all of those keywords might be important, right? So there might be some outliers, which is okay. Like you might not want to be talking about Hindi. You might not want to be talking about the courses in Calicut, right? Like those are not the things that you want to include, or Hyderabad. But besides that, you'd probably want to include full form of SEO and content writing, SEO standards. Like, so these are the two same meanings, right? So it's very high level, but this needs to be emphasized in H2 or H3 tags. And this is still a long tail keyword, right? So as you go short tail, the list of keywords and stuff that you need to mention in your content will keep increasing. Okay, they both, so let's look at topic coverage as well. They both have heat maps. And if you click on the heat map, it'll show you how your competition is using this particular keywords and what tags that they are using those particular keywords in. And how are you using them, or what are you using with this red checkboxes? You can also sort of dig deeper into your competition and understand more information, like what exactly they are doing versus all the competing data. And you get that information for both. So these are some of the opportunities that you can actually create content around. So green are the things that you need to absolutely include in your content, but lighter green is strongly suggested. Many people are using it, and there might be strong user intent associated with those keywords. So you might want to include it. Yellow are the ones which are peripheral. Some people are using it, some are not using it. And if you were to use it, you could potentially, and in a better way with better depth for content around that, you could potentially outrank them for some long tail keywords associated with those important Google NLP keywords that we've identified here. Okay, now, similarly, we looked at this as well, and this has a similar option, which lets you dig into your competing data. Then there is research. In research, okay, there we go. These are the top 20 pages that are ranking in Google. This is their score. This is the page score. So we are scoring each of these web pages for their on-page SEO elements to understand their score and understand like what sort of score we need to target in our content to be better than them. This is their domain authority, page authority, backlink data, word count. You can disable each of these links from statistical analysis that the platform does, as well as how we go about writing content. So we'll get to that later, but disabling this will disable some of these pages from being read by Outranking. Okay, you can also click here and see the content of that entire web page right here. Okay, let's go ahead and minimize that. You can also search through all the 20 web pages of Google from here as well. It will open up all the web pages and show you next. So you can navigate through and extract some key elements or topics of research through existing content and try to include concepts from it in your content. Okay, these are some URL suggestions only on how you should be optimizing or creating your URLs. So most of the people have mentioned SEO content writing in their URL. So I think this is sufficient enough for you to create your URL. Okay, so we could delete. All right, so it's still a checkbox, right? Okay, so if we have done understanding the platform, now let's go ahead and go to sections where you would create content, right? So we could get started by creating content for your outline first, or we could start building. There's two approaches. The first is ideation, the first is first draft, and the second one is where you start actually drafting that first piece from top down. So we'll take the top down approach where we'll create the introduction first. So let's go ahead and go to methods now. And methods is where you'll find many different kinds of automation templates that you can write content around. So let's go ahead and search for introduction section. This is section introduction. Okay, so these are the three of my favorite introduction methods. And we'll write using brilliant introduction. Now this needs a tone. So if I click on it, it's going to ask me to add a tone. So to add a tone, you can just simply click on this cogs wheel and add a tone. Sarcastic. All right. So let's go ahead and command this now. Okay, just making it a little bigger here so you guys can see this. Then you can create a couple of more to understand which one's better, and then find the one that's actually better and go with that. So since we took a sarcastic tone, you can see both of these are a little sarcastic in nature. You could also say extremely sarcastic and elevate that emotion to do that. So that's one type of introduction. Then there is path introduction. So problem, agitate, and solution introduction. But this is designed specifically for blog post. Many you must have seen this in sales copies and stuff like that. But this is the more persuasion for the readers of blog post. This does need audience. So the audience is, there we go. So it wrote an introduction. And so we're still writing sarcastic. Okay, so mind that. And there we go. So this is the second introduction, and you can rephrase this a little bit if you want. But you see, like, most of these introductions are very well thought out. They're not giving you some random ideas. They're giving you much more, like at least 85% baked in thought. So it's very little thinking required. You can straight away get to editing it, adjusting it to your tone, and creating that flow and using it in your copy. Okay. And there is a BAB block framework as well. So let's go and look at that. So this is the second type of introduction. And here you can also create a few more variations of this. If you keep clicking on a similar method to generate just some more ideas. There we go. So it's getting pretty good, right? You at least have 85% done for your introduction. So let's go ahead and delete all of these and keep one. Okay. So somewhere should be, all right. Now it's time for us to start writing the sections that we have created in our outline, right? So once you have your outline, what you can do is, what is the definition of SEO content? So this could be pretty straightforward, right? I don't really need to rely on existing research in order to fill in the gaps to answer this particular question. In that case, I would just use GPT-3 to answer this particular question and get me a feature snippet built out, right? Like SEO content is any piece of writing that has been written to help search engines find your website and rank it for relevant keywords. SEO content can be blog post, online articles, social media post, website copy, or well, I don't know if even emails, right? So it depends if they're going to live somewhere else. So this is what you can do. This is one approach using GPT-3. But we have a slightly different approach. What if this information needs to be much more factual than arbitrary probability? In that case, I will click on, let's say, key points. What this will do is it will go and read existing SERP information and identify key data that answers this particular question, right? So SEO content is any content created with the goal of attracting search engine traffic. Has two components, SEO and content. The goal of SEO is to generate traffic through search, right? So you see there is information that can be included in this particular section to create a proper structure. There we go. And I will use the remaining to build out a second paragraph. There we go. So now we have our first paragraph done, and we can move on to second. So this is the difference between GPT-3 and Outranking, that we have this added layer that does a lot more than a regular AI does. Okay. Similarly, you can go through this process to come up with content for each of the sections, add more sections to it. What I'd really love to show you guys is that please experiment with some of these templates over here. So by default, it extracts concepts from it. And these are not properly formed sentences. It can be sentences, but it can be also some key vital information that makes up the logic for this particular heading or section. So you could use them in similar way to build out your content. I don't know if this is relevant. So this is summarizing key information. It's like it's giving you blog post guides, videos, right? Infographics, content infographics. So you probably want to find out. Okay, so this is just a crappier way of presenting information. So in that case, you'd want to do a little more detailing and say, okay, let's say types of SEO document. So it's just going to convert this into H3 and I can run. There we go. So now if you want to talk about types of SEO document and you're specifically talking about long form blog post, you can use this method to create content for long form blog post, right? So that particular section. Similarly, use that tactic to pretty much generate concepts for everything. Certain cases, there might be certain headings where you might not be able to find relevant information, right? Or it would come back and say that, hey, we could not find any information. In that case, Google it out, or if you have your custom references, come and paste the reference over here. There's a limit of 1800 characters. And once you use that, we can also read through that information and come up with concepts or this research, basically. As you start writing your content and building it out step by step, you will see some of your scores improve. And you start meeting some requirements, right? So you've started including many keywords, some related keywords, your URL looks good, right? So you will start seeing improvements in your score. What do you do to improve? You go to instructions and open up each of these boxes, that the ones that don't have checkboxes, and make sure that you are following the instructions given over here. Okay, we're only targeting one particular keyword. We could be targeting a little more, right? So it's suggesting that go ahead and optimize your title a little more, so you could be potentially targeting a couple of more keywords for broader reach. Similarly, optimize meta descriptions for better reach, create sections. We've only created one section, right? We need to create 12 sections. Then we need to optimize sections for more reach, right? So we need to have some of these keywords included in our content. Some of these keywords need to be included in our H2 and H3 tags, which is what it's recommending. And once you do that, this will all have a tick box. In many cases, it's just not a must to get a tick box on all of these requirements, but you need to carefully vet it out and make sure that you include as many recommendations that are given by Outranking for optimal search engine traffic. Okay, so this was quickly, I went through the entire platform or the editor capabilities. A few things missing over here is you can share the document with external team members as well as internal team members. You can also create a content brief super fast. Just to make sure you take the ones that the information that you want and just click it and it will create a brief for you. And export, import, as well as concept builder. But this is being deprecated in the next release. So I'm not going to go over this, but you can also go through history and understand like, okay, this is what I did before. If you'd created a version, you could also see the version and restore the version from here. Okay, perfect. Let's go back to home. This is the basic SEO content view. All the documents are over here. You can click on this and adjust the tags or change the position. Change the, I don't know, what is the status of the document. Okay, there's SERP analysis as well. So all the recommendations that Outranking is giving is based on SERP analysis. So we also have a separate feature that lets you dig deeper into all the data of up to 30 ranking pages and extract all the information or understand what makes up that ranking factor, right? There's lots of analysis of partial match keyword, fully matched keyword, related keyword data mapping, content from keywords or keywords from content data as well, Google NLP data. And all of that is pretty well mapped out with all the questions from Google also, right? So this is very, very, very detailed report for anyone looking into getting into much more depth of search engine ranking pages. Questions, similarly, you can look at questions from up to 50 pages of SERP data. And keyword gap is very basic. So it allows you to kind of get the gap between keywords. So you can focus on the ones that you really need to and start ranking for them. So you just click on this and it will open up the document and create a new document. So it's to help you find out information around this. Yeah, no problem. So, okay, so this was a very quick overview. I'm going to take some questions now. Colton said, I came in late. Can you customize what sites the tool checks for content? Yes, absolutely. Let's go ahead and click this. And you can click on research, and there's a small icon, here. If you click on it, it will discard this particular page from being considered in SERP statistics or any recommendations, but it will still extract Google NLP keywords from it, which is important for making up that search intent. So this will exclude this page from being considered into concept generation, right? Like that writing research that we do, it will exclude it from there. It will exclude it from all the ranking factors that we give you. So for example, if this page was the longest page with lots of comments and 10,000 words on it, and you wanted to exclude it, you can click I, and it will no longer suggest you create 10,000 words of documents. If that's what you're asking for, yes. Did that answer, Colton? Sounds good. Okay, so I'm sure you guys must have questions, right? I went through the entire demo quite quick. If you have any questions, feel free to drop it in or unmute yourself and ask that question. I'll happy to walk you through that specific use case. Okay, any questions at all? Okay. If no questions, this webinar will be available later in the email and also on YouTube. So feel free to refer to that. And if you have any questions, send us an email or drop a line in chat, or we'll see you on Facebook as well. So thank you all for joining, and see you next time.